What's up, everybody? You want to paint something? Let's do it. Hello, everybody. Back at it today. I've had a couple folks ask me to kind of walk them through doing one of these digital paintings. So that's what I'm going to do today. First off, the equipment I use. This is an Artist 22 Pro XP Pen tablet, and this is the type that you draw directly onto the screen. I use an XP Pen tablet, kind of the desktop one, where you draw on the tablet, then you have to look up at the screen. And I used one of those for a while, and I really like those too. There's nothing wrong with those. But kind of, this is kind of the next step up from that. It feels a lot more like painting, but if you get one of those kind of desktop tablets, there's nothing wrong with them, and they work really well. And once you get used to drawing and looking at the screen at the same time, really easy to use. The software I use is Autodesk Sketchbook, and I like it. And it's just what I've started with. It's what I'm used to, and it doesn't matter which software you want to use. Most of these techniques will translate. Some are a little better for certain things, and some are a little better for other things. Most folks, I think, prefer Photoshop. Nothing wrong with it. It's great software. Whatever you want to use. Krita is good. There's a lot of free ones out there. You don't have to spend money on it if you don't want to, especially if you're just starting out and you're just trying to figure out if this is for you or not. But I'm just going to kind of walk you through one of my digital landscapes, and in general, these don't take very long for me to do, and it's just, I've done so many of them that I can get one done pretty quick. I don't know if this will be a masterpiece or anything like that, but I just wanted to do this to kind of walk you through the process, or at least my process. And I am by no means an elite artist or a specialist at any of this. This is just what I do, what I've figured out that I like and enjoy. So I'll walk you through one of these things, and you can try it out for yourself and let me know how it comes out. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I have to decide is, let me move this microphone right out of my face. The first thing I have to decide is if there's going to be water in this painting. If there is, then I need to, I got to turn on my little symmetry tool, right? Because you want to show that reflection of the water. And so on Sketchbook, this is the symmetry tool, and again, like I said, whatever software you're using, I guarantee you they've got the same thing on there. And we don't want it to be vertical, we want a horizontal line, so we'll turn that off, turn the vertical back on. Now you'll notice there's this little grabber right here in the middle. You want to lock that in place, because if you don't, you're going to inadvertently grab that while you're drawing, and you're going to move it by accident, and it's really hard to get it back to where it was. So first thing is, I don't want it to be dead center. You might, but I don't like it that way. I want it to be about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down the picture. That looks good to me right there. So what I'll do is lock it into place right here. And you can turn the line off, and it will still do the same thing. You just won't have the dotted line. I kind of like to leave it there, just so I know where everything's at. Now, right here on your background layer, if you choose to put a background color in, you're just going to tap into this little bar here. And so you got this whole array of colors. And you just gotta kind of choose what color you want your sky to be, right? Just the background. And since I like these little sunsets, I kind of like a really darker blue. It doesn't have to be super bright, but you can use whatever you want, whatever color. It does not matter what color. You'll find that out. You just whatever you prefer. So then we'll be back up here on our first layer, and so the things that are farthest away you want to paint first, and the things that are going to be furthest away from us on this, it's going to be our clouds, right? Because of course that's the furthest thing away. Sometimes they're closer, but so there's tons and tons of brush sets that you can download for all of these different softwares. I know Sketchbook has a ton of them, and they're all customizable. I can take these brushes and change them however I want to. But this set here, this artist set, is the one I like to get started with. There are just brushes for clouds built into this too, but I like to use this artist set to kind of get started. And since we're going to do kind of a sunset, we will get started with some oranges and maybe some purples and all kinds of stuff. Now these two pucks right here, these are called pucks, and again, in general, most software has something similar to this. This puck controls my color, and this puck controls my brush. So we've selected our color off of our color puck. We've got this brush puck, and you'll see me move this thing all over the place because it's, and I'll show you why. So when I grab this and I drag this back or forth sideways, it changes the size of my brush. If I drag it up and down, it changes the flow, or how thick the paint is on the brush, right? So we'll start off at, I don't know, what was that, like 80%? Yeah, it doesn't matter. You'll see I'll say it doesn't matter a lot, because it doesn't. This is your painting, you do what you want with it. And I'll kind of max out that brush size, and then we'll just start laying in some clouds. And like I said, this software is really good at mimicking, you know, what a brush does. That's maybe a little big. And you can see how as I trail off, the color, just like with a brush, kind of fades out. And you don't have to have a whole lot of this. You can go crazy with these clouds, and sometimes I do, but you don't always just have to cover the whole sky with clouds. It's whatever you prefer. So we've got these basic little orange clouds here in the background, and we'll throw a little, maybe a little red. I want it to be a little bit darker and more burnt. I don't know if I like that or not. We'll turn the flow down, and you can see that now that I've turned the flow of the brush down, it's not just dumping paint. It is kind of lightly putting it on the canvas here. Now, this is the most important button right here. You see up here at the top of the screen, this red arrow. When you're doing digital work, this is your undo button. If you screw something up, you can just undo it, and you can go back several steps. That's one advantage you have doing digital work that you will not have doing traditional. Now we've got our clouds in there, and they look okay, but we're going to take these smudge brushes right here underneath the next set of brushes down, and these are pretty strong, so you probably need to turn it down to about, you know, like I said, about 5% there or so. And what I'll do is just soften up these shapes, especially right on the edges here, and I'll kind of drag some of this out, make it look a little bit more fluffy and cloud-like. And see these big circles here that the brush left? I don't want to leave those on there, so I'll start big, and then we'll make the brush a little smaller so I can get down into some of these without dragging the whole cloud, just breaking up a little bit of that super sharp circle-y shape that the brush left. So we got some pretty cool clouds, right? And we've got this big open space in the sky. And as you're kind of doing this, you're gonna have to start kind of deciding what you're gonna do with that. And you know, you may put something up there, you might not. If I do, it's usually something weird. So over here, this little menu that I'm jiggling up and down, this is my layers menu. So as you paint, you can keep adding layers. And so when I add this new layer here, whatever I do on this layer will not affect this layer. So I can try all kinds of stuff on this new layer, and if I don't like it, I can just get rid of the layer, and then I haven't affected this part right here. So layers are very important. And then when you get to a certain point, you'll see I'm going to merge all these layers together so that I can create the reflection on the water. So we got our cool clouds, we got our color up in the sky. You know, there could probably be some more clouds up here in the top, but we're going to go with what we got right now. So down here, back at my artist set, I like this little sharp brush right here. This is my favorite one when I start cutting in hard shapes. And what we'll do, we're going to leave it kind of a real dark burnt red, and I want my brush to be about that size. And then we'll move this back out of the way. And so what we're going to do is this is kind of the funnest part for me, because I'm just literally throwing random shapes out there, and this is how I kind of make those lakes and rivers and stuff like that. And like I said, just random shapes, and I kind of like it to merge in together so that it's kind of like a bay, you know, or like a river bank or something like that. And you can put in whatever kind of shapes you want, and you don't have to overthink this, and there's really not any way of messing it up. Just whatever random shapes you want to throw out there. Alright, so now we've got kind of our river banks, and they're silhouetted. So, and we'll throw a little color on the bank here to kind of reflect the light from the sky. But we got to do all the stuff in the background, and that's going to be reflecting off the water before we do our little magic trick to make everything pop out. And then we'll draw kind of the foreground, and maybe a tree or a bush or something like that. But so we got all this stuff right here going on. So we got our banks, and like I said, there's no right or wrong way to draw this stuff. Just start throwing in some random shapes. Do not have to get too overly complicated with that. Now I've got my shapes, and I'm going to add another new layer, because I don't want to screw my shapes up when I start putting in this kind of shading the color here. And what we have to do is kind of find a brush, and you can see how many brushes I have. I just have tons of them, all different kind of textures, and just kind of like with traditional art, you can have all different kind of brushes with whatever kind of textures you want. This one's got kind of a rocky texture to it, and what I want is to kind of reflect a little bit of this background color. So on the color puck, I will grab this little dropper right here, and I can take a sample of whatever color I want. And let's check and see how big our brush is, and let's see how strong it is. You know, you can just kind of play with it anywhere and hit the back button. I don't want it to be super strong. Yeah, there we go, about like that. And maybe a little bit smaller. So then we'll just come in here and kind of throw in some random shapes and colors into these rocks. And a lot of times when I'm doing these too, like this could be a desert, this could be a coastline, this could be whatever you want it to be, but I always just kind of try to think of it as just some other world, you know, kind of the world that I'm creating and building here. And when you think of it that way, then your possibilities are endless. You can do whatever you want with this. So now, you know, I've got kind of my light source coming from this way. That's why the light is reflecting on this side. So we got to remember that when we come over here. We're going to do the opposite side. And again, if you get too particular with this, you can kind of mess yourself up by overthinking it. So just kind of let it flow. And if you don't like what happens, hit the back button, hit the undo. Now we've got some basic colors in here, so I'm going to go back, and while I'm still on this layer with those basic colors, this is just kind of a dry brush right here. And this brush, you'll see me use it a lot. What it simulates is like if you were doing an oil painting and you just use a dry brush to kind of drag out your paint. And it's like a smudge brush, but it's not really, because it will put a little bit of texture in there. It will act as if it is a actual dry paintbrush, and this is actual paint. And I just like to kind of smooth that out. So we've got our sky, we've got our background mountains here, you know, and we keep moving closer and closer, right? And we got to kind of decide if we want something in the sky or not. And you can see down here the reflection kind of cuts off right here. So no matter where, if I put something up here in the sky, it's not going to show up on this reflection unless I hang it way down. So we're going to save that for the end. If I want to do something like that, I can bring this same line back up there and show the reflection of it. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to, this little menu right here, and however you do it in your software, it's the same thing. You're just going to merge all these layers together. So now I don't have 3 separate layers. I've only got this one layer, right? And we're going to turn the symmetry tool off for a second. And now we've just got this picture, and it will not do the symmetry effect. And I'm going to grab this big smudge brush, and what I'm going to do is I want it to be about the size of this, right, of my water. I'm going to turn on this line tool, and what this will do is let me drag a line so that it will go perfectly straight whichever direction I want. And for this trick, you don't want to go very high, 5 or 6%. And just like when you would watch the old Bob Ross shows, and he would pull a little bit down and then go sideways to make the water, you can kind of do all that with one swoop here. I'm just going to grab my smudge brush. We're going to go right across the water like that, and that's going to create that little reflection effect. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, so that way I can kind of do a couple more just random ones. Yeah. And you can get, and you want to keep your lines as straight as you can. And I will now take my brush even smaller, and I want to kind of drag some of this out so that it's not You know, it doesn't just look like a perfect mirror image. And that too is just personal preference, because it just depends on how calm you want to demonstrate your water is. You know. Now you can go in here too and put ripples and all that kind of stuff in, and we may do a few of those. And this dry brush also works pretty good for this stuff too. So like I said, it puts a little bit more texture in it, and it will actually drag more paint depending on how strong you set it. So we want, you know, if you want a few little random ripples and stuff like that, you can pull them out. And you can also add sharper colors in there too, to bring your water ripples out a little bit better. Alright, so we've got this little bay, and now it looks like it's sitting in the water. I'm going to add a new layer, and we're going to go way down here. And it doesn't, again, just find the brush that works for what you're trying to do. I have this oil set right here, and this is my favorite for putting little details in. And again, I'm gonna grab a color out of the sky. I want one of these really bright oranges is what I want. And I've still got my line tool on, and that's because I'm gonna put just a few little coastlines out here. And these, again, just like with everything else, they don't have to be perfect right here, right now, because you're going to use those smudge brushes and that dry brush to kind of pull these out, and they don't all have to line up. You know, put them at different heights and stuff, and that'll kind of create that illusion that you know, your coastline is going in and out. You know. All right. So we've got a little effect there for the coastline. We're going to slide way back up here, and we're going to grab this dry brush again. And I've still got the line tool on, and what we're going to do is just drag it out a little bit. I don't want it to go away. I don't want it to be blended out, but I don't, you know, want it to kind of look a little less sharp. But again, that's just all preference. You whatever looks good to you, that's what you do. This is what I like to do. And you see me, if you watch my channel or if you've kind of hung out with me, you know that I do a ton of these kind of paintings, but I love them. That's what I do. Alright, so we've got this pretty much set, and you got a couple of choices on how you can finish one of these up. And what we're going to do first is I'm going to add a new layer, and I got to decide, am I going to put something in the sky, or am I going to put something in the foreground that kind of goes up in the sky? And I have not really decided. I think, just because it's me and I like doing weird stuff, I think we're going to put something in the sky, like a spaceship or a UFO or something to that effect. Now I have a lot of tricks for doing these too, and I'll kind of walk you through those real quick. I'm going to turn that line tool off for a second, and you might think that what I'm about to do is kind of crazy, but we will work it out here in a second. So I'm just going to start putting a big blob up here in the sky. And then we're going to add some other colors to it. And I want it to be, set our light source is kind of coming from this way, so it's going to be a lot brighter over here. And this can be a spaceship, this can be whatever you want it to be. Now, up here, you got all these tools, and this one is kind of your guide tool. You can have lines, you can have curves. Up here is all the different tools. I'm going to select this circle tool, and you can see with all these little grabbers, I'm going to make it to the shape and size that I'm after here. I want this to be fairly round, and we're going to put it right in the center of that. And now You can select the eraser, but with most of these tablets, you just click your pen and it'll switch over to the eraser. And this now is controlling the eraser, and I want it to be a fairly sharp erase. I don't want it to take too much of this thing out, so what we're going to do is cut that. I'm going to make this a little bigger, and then we're going to kind of clean this up out here a little bit. And when you start playing with these erasers and kind of taking away things, you can create some cool effects. I mean, like, I'm going to leave that little ring on there just because I dig it. I'm going to try to get kind of right in the center of that ring. And I'm going to go back to my brush. And for whatever reason, sometimes Sketchbook gets a little wonky on switching from the eraser to the brush. So you got to make sure of what you got a hold of here before you start painting. Now this set up here, this basic set's got this airbrush in it. And it's another one of my favorite brushes, and it simulates, you know, an airbrush, and of course so we're just gonna kind of play with this a little bit. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna turn this off for a second to see what it looks like. And we're starting to get something cool now. And in general, when I start doing one of these kind of UFO shapes, I just go with it. I just start drawing and see what happens. So we've got this general kind of circle up in the sky. Who knows what that is? That's the beauty of it. I'm going to go to this glow brush now, and let's do like a purple glow on this thing. And this is a pretty strong brush, so you gotta kind of be careful with this thing. And we're gonna put a little glow on this side over here. This is also when I'm doing the if I'm doing one of my creepy drawings, it's also the brush I use to put the eye shine in the eyes. So we're just going to put a few little random features in this weird looking spaceship. And now I'm going to go super big so we can have a nice big reflection off of there. Now because of the position that that's in, really you're not going to get much reflection other than maybe we can put a little color right there. And if I had wanted to do like a straight up reflection, I could have turned my symmetry tool back on, but I really don't. I'm just going to throw in a few of these random colors as a glow right down here on the edge of my water, and then we will drag that back out. So we got this weird UFO in the sky, or whatever that is. It's whatever you want it to be, it doesn't matter. Hanging out over this water. I'm gonna turn this brush size down just a little bit. Throw a few bit. And this really doesn't matter either down here. You don't have to get all exact. You can if you want. Again, it's your painting. But I'm going to take just that little random stuff I threw in the water there, and we're going to drag that out just like we did with the other reflection. Got my line tool back on, and we'll just drag it both ways, and it will kind of give us a little bit of reflection off of this UFO. Now we're on the home stretch, folks, and I don't know how far we are into this, but I'm sure we're, hasn't taken that long to create this. Now the closer you get, and the darker it gets. And right here in the front, what we're going to do is we are going to put a like a little outcropping here, or the bank that is closest to us off of this. And did anybody see where my layer editor went? There it is. I must have accidentally closed that with my finger. So we're going to add a new layer. We're going back to this sharp brush right here, and I'm going to take just straight up black, and we got to kind of pick, do we want it to be on this side or do we want it to be on this side? And I kind of want it to be over here on this side. Oop, still got my line too long. Let's turn that off. And again, just whatever random shapes you want to use. And I like it to kind of go all the way across. And sometimes it gets, you know, it seems to, like maybe I just do the same thing over and over, and that's because I do, because I like them. I like doing these because they always come out cool for me. I just like doing these kind of things. Now you can go down here, and I can take, if I can find it, too many brushes, I can take my little oil brush and I can just start putting in all kinds of little grass and stuff like that, plants and flowers. And again, like, you know, when you're dragging it out, you can see that it will act just like paint does. It's trying to mimic, you know, whatever brush that you're using. It's trying to mimic like what a real brush would do. Sketchbook's really good at that. And what we'll do is kind of put a little stem going up here, maybe a couple little leaves, and we'll kind of create some kind of little flower or something here. Who knows what that is? And I try not to get overly complicated or try to overly explain any of my drawings or paintings. I think that is up for the person viewing it to decide kind of what they're seeing. You know, I just paint it. You decide what it is. So a couple little random weird plants there. May make some kind of weird little creature down here. Like I said, whatever world this is, it doesn't exactly have to be our world. And you can zoom in, zoom out. I just I don't know. I don't do a whole lot of zooming in and zooming out. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I kind of just prefer to eyeball it, and maybe that's good, maybe that's not. I don't know. And now to kind of finish it up, they've got these kind of grassy brush looking things that are almost kind of like a stamp, where you can just kind of start adding some grass here and there. And I use these to kind of fill it out, you know, just to make it look a little like kind of a grassy bank here. Our little creature down there, we're going to want to find a little texture brush here. These are some of my favorite textures, and we're going to put a little bit of a texture on him, and maybe we're going to take some of this purple. I gotta make this super small since he's not very big. And again, I'm not going to get way down in here and get all super detailed, but you could if you choose to. if you really got into this and you really wanted to, you could spend hours and hours and days, and you could break down every pixel of this painting and you could make it all perfect, and it would look amazing. And that is just up to you on what kind of art you want to do, what kind of painting you enjoy doing. That's the main thing. You got to make sure that it is what you enjoy doing. Now, I don't even know what this is supposed to be down here. I don't know if it's a cat, a bug, or a stick. I mean, who knows? Who knows what that is? Could be anything. Could be a tiny dinosaur. Could be a giant dinosaur on a humongous planet. Who knows? It is all up to you and your imagination on what that thing down there is. May just be a stick that washed up on the creek here, and your mind just may be playing tricks on you. Who knows? There we go. And at a certain point, you got to know when it's time to quit. And I think it's time to quit drawing. Now, this is a digital painting, and I do, as good as this looks right here for me, I do like to throw some filters on this. And I see one little spot in the cloud there that's bothering me. We're going to smooth it out just a little bit. Turn that way down. Just a little bit too sharp right there. I guess I should go to that layer so that it actually works. There we go. Again, this is a digital work. This looks good for me, but I like to filter my work, and because I can make it look the way I want it to. I'm just creating this. I'm not trying to impress anybody with all my knowledge of colors and lines. I'm just trying to create some art that I enjoy. So what I will do is I'm going to save it, and yeah, we'll just call it that for now. And it doesn't really matter which format I save it in. Right now it's a TIFF, and what I'll do is I'm going to open this in another program that I like to use. And the hell I name that as? Oh, that's funny. There was another painting on my desktop that looked almost exactly the same as this one. So I was like, what? Never mind. So I'm going to open this into this other program. It's called Photor. This is one of my favorite programs. This is where I filter it out and do the magic, right? Never really gotten into this part of it with everybody. So first thing I'll do is come up here and edit it, and I want to sharpen it. I like it all the way sharp because that brings out kind of all the lines and detail that I put in it. And now they've got all these built-in filters, and you can see they all do different things, make it look a different way. This nostalgic is usually the one I pick because I think it kind of makes it look more traditional, like a traditional painting. And I will go back, and I gotta move myself over out of the way here a little bit for a second. We're going to play with the brightness a little bit, make it look a little darker. Contrast. The contrast is pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful tool, but you can go too far with it. I'm going to turn the color up just a hair. Temperature, we may go down just a little bit. Tint, a little bit to the greener side. And that's it. That's all the filtering I'm going to do right there. And now I'm going to save this as a high quality JPEG. And I'm going to name it UFO Buddy. And we will save it. I'm going to put myself back where I was. I'm going to close Photor, and now we're back in Sketchbook. So there's our original, and like I said, it looks pretty decent. And now I'm going to bring in our UFO Buddy that we just saved. And you can see all the crap I've got on my desktop. I gotta clean this up someday. And there's our filtered version. And for me, that does look a whole lot better. You know, that's just for me. You may have preferred it the other way. And now I will go up here, and I like this little kind of calligraphy tool. I'll grab a color off of this thing. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to sign it down here. Make sure I don't have no line tools on. Alright. And that's it. We are done with this one. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful if you want to get started trying this stuff out. And if you enjoyed it, leave me a comment, tell me about it, and I'll do more of these for you. And if there's any questions you have, again, leave it in the comments. And we'll just keep playing around with this stuff. And again, I hope it helped you. I hope you have a good day. And I hope everything in your whole life turns out just the way you always wanted it. You guys take care. I'll see you around. Keep looking up in the sky for inspiration.